And we're back. No, I'm not Gerald Blatchford. I am Joe Soro filling in for Gerald for the. Actually, this is the first time I think I've. This is the first time I've been on the Laker Holics, isn't it,
I think
Tom?
so. I think
Yeah.
so.
So I'm here to host. I'm going to be the DJ slash masters of ceremony slash host slash all the slashes. And for those of you who don't know, Michael is dealing with some weather issues. So Michael may be speaking and then disappearing, and then maybe speaking and maybe disappearing. But we're going to do our best to keep him online. Hopefully, the man above can give him enough time to do his thing before he has to go. But we're hoping nothing happens here. That's what we're hoping for. But again, we have LakerTom, we have Michael in Hawaii. We're gonna get to the nitty gritty here. This has been a very I'm gonna keep it PC and say interesting week for the LA Lakers. Tom and Michael are going to go down the list of uh, things that may not happen, things of that have happened, things that won't happen. But I'll start with Tom, and then Michael, you can follow after that. First question I have for you, Tom, is was this sale good or bad?
Ah, I don't think we know yet, but it's a pretty amazing story when you get into it. That Adam Silver might be involved in the guy telling the new owners that Mark Walter might be looking to sell the Lakers. Um, and from everything I read, it's to do the deal in 3 days, just like the Luka Doncic deal with no auction, no linking out of anything about it is. I mean, it's just amazing. Everybody is just shocked to death at what's happened. Um, we have a group chat, and immediately in the group chat, Stan posted something about the Magas connection. Obviously, and that I mean, God, think about the horror of having a MAGA owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. That would, man. I mean, Jamie won't even buy anything from Amazon just because of political reasons. you know, are you going to drop your fandom for because of the owner of the team? Uh, then the other thing is that they just put out a thing basically saying that they're in this for a long-term investment. They're not in this to turn it around and make a profit. And they were, I mean, what a boom for them. They were going to pay $8 to $10 billion for the Vegas expansion team, um, and they get a chance to buy the Lakers for $12 billion. That's pretty amazing. Um, and it appears that Josh Kushner is a lifelong Democrat. He and his wife are both very liberal supporters of liberal causes. But you wonder if just looking at everything else that happened, you can't help but wonder whether Donald actually interceded to help his son-in-law's younger brother. Uh, I mean, it smacks almost of the same type of tactics that you see happening left and right. Where the rich guys are getting richer. It's not a good thing for the NBA or for professional sports, but it's kind of like analytics. It's where it's going, man. The family Scion that owns a team forever and it stays in the family's hands and so forth. Um, now it's all venture capitalists and that whole thing has changed. It's funny money now. It's conglomerate investments taking over all of these sports teams and so forth. And some of them probably still have it's the same attitude that winning is how this process got so valuable. The players are going to be very interesting to see what they do because they get a cut of all of the revenue, but they don't get a cut of the appreciation of the market value of the franchises. And really, these guys, just like for Kushner, basically, this investment gives him a huge ability to write off the contracts of the players over 15 years. no other business has a right to amortize their assets like that, when it's people. And it wipes out the taxes on a lot of other personal income taxes that the guy has. So, there's all of these other things that are driving why these deals are made, other than the fact of wanting to have a team that wins. That's not good for it's not good for the league, but it's like the gambling thing. This is what's happening to the world, and you just have to adjust and hope you do the best in it. I think it was good that we avoided the problems. It's probably good, no matter what happens, that we got out of Mark Walter's situation. He may well have to sell the Dodgers too. They say he needs $9 billion. And he bought the Lakers. The league supposedly goes through and does their due diligence on all of these deals, and this was a pretty big miss, because some of those rumors were out there about Walter's financial situations and so forth, and he was obviously raising money to try to buy the Lakers. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all winds out. You don't know for sure, but I think it's good at least that we avoided being in a situation where our owner was under tax fraud investigation and so forth.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, Trump did not help the sale, because Trump would never help Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, in any way, shape, or form. Disney's been a target of Trump and Ron DeSantis ever since Trump's first term. So yeah, no, there was no help there. I agree with Tom. I think it was basically something he had to do. I don't think he wanted to do it, but he's under investigation. I guess he has a lot of debt he's trying to pay down because of that investigation. Maybe shady kind of loans and stuff like that. So I think that's probably.
Just didn't declare the loans. He didn't declare the loans.
Yeah. He wants to get rid of the loans that
he was getting the financing for the Lakers.
Yeah. So I think that's, as far as what it's going to do for the team, I don't think you're going to see any immediate change. I mean, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late in the game to shake things up right now. I mean, they're going to have to go. They'll roll with what they have for this year. Unless some of the guys that Walter brought in doesn't want to stay. I don't know. What's going to happen with some of his guys.
Dodgerification of the Lakers.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with those guys. I don't really expect to do much this year. We'll have to wait and see what direction they go in the future. But I think that what Walter did with the Lakers, turning more to an analytics model kind of thing, I think that's the direction the whole league is going in. It was just the Lakers were a little bit behind. So I don't think they're going to make it. I don't see any real changes. I really don't.
Well, the roster basically is an analytics roster right now.
Yeah. I would not be too comfortable if I was Genie, because that 5-year governorship is now null and void. Right. And probably not Rob either. This is a make or break. I mean, if the Lakers don't do well this year, I mean, when we say well, we mean not getting bumped in the first round.
Better than last year.
Yeah. So I think he's in danger too, because he has squandered opportunity after opportunity to make a really good, solid team, and so we'll see what happens. But it is what it is for this year anyway.
You think Genie's missing $2.5 billion?
Well,
he might have got a better deal. They had given a first right of refusal to Mark.
Yeah, Walter could have.
He had the first right of refusal. They couldn't have put the team up for auction.
Right, exactly. So yeah,
but it's got to hurt 14 months later. The price is $2.5 billion. The valuation of the company is $2.5 billion greater than it was when
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm like I said, I'm not expecting any. I'm not expecting this to impact the season in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, as long as the players get paid, I don't think it's going to matter to them. Especially someone like Luka Doncic, who's been dealing with ownership issues here for the last few
I had the same
years,
thing at the Mavericks, when they sold the team right after he signed.
and he's also dealing with his own in-home situation where uh, you get to that point with these athletes that they're not learning from other people's mistakes. They keep making the same mistakes and making bad decisions, and it's thrown on them while they were young. And this, at this point, there's enough information out there to that doesn't fly anymore. But Luka does have a little bit of the Kobe gene in that he can still perform even through stress that's hovering around him. The issue with what's happened with Mark Walter is, what are we supporting? Are we going to continue to complain about things in the world and then we end up finding out we're supporting that same issue? I think that's where this has all come about, and that's why money being the all-in be-all, using gambling sites, I mean, I was watching them, MLB Network yesterday. I had to mute the TV because it was penis pills, it was gambling sites, it was pharma drugs. I mean, this is the society we want. This is what we want. Just constant dope, more dope and dope. Or if it's not pharma drugs, it's some GLP-1 peptide. And for those of you on the Apple audio, I'm putting the little bunny ears up there. Peptides. I could do a segment on that alone, on the horse shit that's behind that. But anyways, the main issue is what's hovering around this. Even if it's not involved, it's the same kinds of people. It doesn't matter if there's a D or an R in front of their name. That's all bullshit too, by the way. But the Lakers had a little bit of like a future of hope, because we saw 13 years of Mark Walter and the Guggenheims do what they did in LA with the Dodgers. That's where the excitement was. And then, of course, a lot of my friends who I have a lot of respect for that do what we do, a lot of them kind of came out and said, see, you guys all thought Mark Walter was this savior. I'm like, hold on a second. This is based off what's gone on. I don't know Mark Walter from the wall, personally. I'm judging it off of how he managed another sports team, just like somebody like Stan Kroenke, who has won at every level, right? Because we started hearing, well, it's going to be different, Joe, because NBA has a salary cap and they have a hard cap and they have a this and they have a that. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Stan Kroenke owns an NFL team, a hockey team, a basketball team. He won a championship in every one. Good businessmen, good owners adapt. If you don't remember, Dr. Buss was really good at that. So with that, I mean, it's a lot easier to go with what Michael is saying. Well, it's not going to affect the season. Let's just hang tight a little bit. Let's rock and roll when it starts. I think it's not going to affect anything there, which is probably true. I think the Lakers are going to be who they are regardless of what's hovering around them. And speaking of that, we have to talk about the guy that kind of presses the button on this, since he's pressed the button a few times here this offseason, and that's Rob Pelinka. What's your guys' grade on Rob Pelinka? He's been getting pretty much average grades in most areas. I'm probably sitting around that area as well. Tom, what's your grade on Rob this summer?
I give him an A so far, but he could drop down to a B, just depending if he doesn't do anything the rest of the season. It's kind of interesting. Maybe our rating with ESPN will go up now that Iger's going to be probably, if there's going to be one of the two of them, Iger or Kushner, who's involved with the Lakers, it's probably Iger. And he basically has been looking for as his next career, so to speak. So I think internally there's a chance that, and this really affects Rob, that he may become the team's CEO. Jeannie remains the team's governor. And, maybe they go out and get somebody like Bob Myers to be the head of basketball operations ahead of him, president and vice president of basketball strategy or something. And I don't think any of this is going to happen fairly soon, but I do think that Jeannie probably will be more of a token than she was with Mark Walter, because Iger's going to really want to run things. That's what he's done before. I mean, it's the money is all Kushner's, and Iger's only worth a few hundred million versus billions. So Rob, I think, is going to be on a fairly short lease. If this, and I think he's done a fabulous job putting together this team, especially the guys that they added after getting the deal with Kessler. Are really, they got some excellent players. If they could get a couple of new forwards that really were true starting forwards, which they probably won't do this before the season starts, but they may at the trade deadline or next summer be able to do that. And then push Grimes and probably Williams, who would be the starting forwards if we went out tomorrow, push them to the bench, and he'd have a bench that, was better than some teams' starting lineups. So I think Rob's done a terrific job, but his players are going to have to translate that into wins, or else there's a good chance he'll be gone.
Before I get to you, Michael, I want to just throw out this. LeBron missed the first 15 games last year.
14.
14. So essentially, what part of I don't like using these words, but the optimism that I have is, will that happen? I know it's a different year, and I don't like to compare years, but imagine last year, you're pretty much going to have the same team, except you're going to actually have a center. And they were doing pretty well. And their season schedule is showing that it's pretty laxed based off of last year's performances. So from that standpoint, and I'm sorry I had to throw into my optimism area, but there wasn't a schedule until yesterday? So now I'm like,
10-0 start.
Right? Now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there's something here. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of you probably hadn't known that the schedule is out. I haven't been able to delve into it too much. And we will, though. We will be doing this on the Lakers Fast Break on other shows as well. But until then, we'll just let you guys know that does play a factor in kind of gauging how this is kind of gonna go, especially at the beginning. So go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. As far as this, first of all, I did not think or believe that you could create a championship level team over one summer.
Right.
That's us being too super optimistic. So I think what he's done so far is, he's put some pieces there in place that are going to pay dividends. Like Tom said, we really are going to have to, I don't know if we need two, we need at least one quality, and preferably we've got guys that can defend.
We have internal guys that could grow into those roles.
Yeah, we need we need another starting forward with a little bulk, little strength, that can handle the bigger, power forwards and stuff like that. I mean, Williams is 6'9", but he weighs about 100 pounds,
And he has not played starter minutes.
Yeah, so
he's the best that we have right now, probably.
Yeah, so they could go with Thibault at the 4, basically, because
he's never guarded 4 forward.
No, he wouldn't do it though. He wouldn't do that. Luka would drop down and
right.
Luka's 6'8" to 230 pounds, right. And he will be defending forwards this year.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing what that does for the fact that you've got Luka and Austin, who are offense first players, as your backcourt, puts you in a situation where your two forwards, one forward has to guard the best guard, and the other forward has to guard the best forward.
Right.
Otherwise, then Luka and Austin just get dumped on whoever's the weaker.
And you know what? I think Luka gets kind of a bad rap.
He's much better defender, or at least
he's a better defender.
A Laker.
He's a better defender than he's given credit for. I'm not saying he's a great defender. But he's average at least, and he has a knack for he with his basketball IQ. He gets a lot of steals. He reads passing lanes extremely well. So that's another possibility. I would like to see them pick. I'm really not at all interested in Kuminga. Kuminga is a forwards version of Ayton. Talent up to Yahoo.
Perfect description, Michael.
But they don't have. He doesn't have. It's the mental part. The it's all about me part of him that really So, and the forward they have to bring in doesn't have to be a star. He just has to be. He has to be good. So as far as Rob's grade, I'll give him a B. We'll see what he can do. I don't think he can do anything for me to raise his grade because we don't have the assets to really hit anything out of the park right now. So,
well, that brings up the issue of if we actually get Kuminga. What bothers me most about that situation is because I think we have other players that could take up the slack if Kuminga turned out to be like we expect him to be. But you're going to have to give up draft capitals, probably.
Yeah,
you're going to have to satisfy two teams. You're going to have to satisfy one team to take Bando's contract, and you're going to have to satisfy the other team the Hawks to just do the sign and trade.
I don't think you can get rid of Bando's contract until the trade deadline because by the trade deadline, most of the salary will already be paid.
But what are you going to put together? Then you're going to give him Hardy and another player, Dalton.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know what?
I think one of the big issues and the biggest issue that they're going to have to decide is if they can't get somebody who's really worth it, should they hold on to the draft picks? And
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
To do something now with those picks for a guy like Kuminga, I think that would be a crime.
No. Yeah, I think what I really like to see, especially with a soft opening schedule,
and a brand new team.
Yeah, I would like to see JJ go beyond his favorite 9-man rotation, stretch it out to 10, 11 guys, give some of these kids some playing time, see what you got before you make any stupid moves.
Yeah, find out what you really need because maybe
find out what you need. Exactly.
Some of the guys on this team could fill a lot of those roles. I mean, that's the reason I give him such a good grade to Pelinka is because of the fact that we've got some depth that one thing we've done for sure is if we can get a trade and get rid of, or at some point, whether it's a trade deadline or a wave and stretch type of situation, but get rid of the dead wood that we've carried in the 11 through 15 players every single year since the championship. You look at OKC and their 14th and 15th players could actually contribute if they were needed, or if somebody goes out with injury.
Used to be able to do that. They traded away a lot of their depth.
They got hit a little bit with a salary because now you got these big extensions coming in. But the one thing I really like about the roster that we've got now is if you could get rid of Vanderbilt, all of a sudden everybody else on the roster is useful.
It's we discussed for about a year now about what the next steps were in the evolution of the Luka Doncic era. And that was when we didn't know if LeBron was going to be a part of it, which common sense said he wasn't. When they didn't re-sign him last year, the writing was somewhat on the wall. It could have changed if there was a little bit of a run, but the problem with LeBron is he takes too much of the atmosphere. I think he lets his stooges talk too much, and that's what he's been doing lately because he used to be the talker before, but now he lets the stooges talk. When you have that kind of communication, it's always going to look pretentious and disconnected. And on top of the fact that obviously he's up in age, at some point, even if the talent is there, the distraction and the inability to bridge those issues become too high for the cost. So the Lakers are kind of in no man's land right now. What happened this summer was they had to sign who they signed because there wasn't anyone else to sign. There wasn't really a trade that was going to make sense. There wasn't a setup with another team that would have brought in a star because there aren't any real stars right now that wanted to come to LA. It was Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that was it. And then as far as Jaylen Brown is concerned, that would kind of sort of came out of nowhere, but not really. But at the same time, in talking about today's NBA, and if you're not really in tune with what's going on, the Jaylen Brown trade had just as much to do with the fact that these supermax contracts are going to slowly start to get away.
They're going to disappear in the next CBA for sure.
And this is what we've been discussing, and I say we as in the baseball community, that, and of course it's going to look bad because I'm a Dodger fan, right? But I've never been a fan of the salary cap. And I'm a Steeler fan, which the salary cap in the NFL helps the small, again, I'm putting the bunny ears on, the small market teams. The reason why, and if this is about the players, right? That's always about the players. Yeah, right. Okay. LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant have been severely underpaid in their time because of the salary cap. Now, maybe LeBron isn't as important to the Laker market because the Laker market already had a market. It already has a worldwide whatever. But the fact that LeBron was in Cleveland and shook the economy there in such a way that he only was able to get a certain amount of money due to a cap. LeBron, if you probably put it all together in the city of Cleveland, probably should have gotten paid $100 million a year just for the local economy. So now I don't want to go too economical on this.
But then you got, but the other side of the coin is Wembanyama.
So
kind of interesting because the LeBron, the Michael, the Kobe, it was always never take less than you can get. And then all of a sudden you got Wembanyama actually taking a huge amount of money less.
He had to, because if he doesn't, his team will not be equipped to winning a championship. Tom Brady did this for years.
But man, every player says, I want to win a championship, but are they willing to do?
Right. And then you look at Jalen Brunson's last contract.
Yep.
He didn't take $100 million plus. I think it was $123 million. There is no other way, guys. It's over. Like, they really butchered themselves. I'm talking about the Player Association with this deal. If they don't, again, once you open Pandora's box, it's over. There's no way in the next CBA they're going to be able to reverse this. It just never does. It never happens.
Yeah.
So,
my biggest problem with that last agreement, I don't know what's wrong with the rank and file players. You know, the average decent players. The way the salary cap is they get screwed. All the money goes to the top. You know, and I've never understood why they vote for that.
Well, it's because the guys probably in charge of doing the voting are the guys that are getting paid the big bucks.
Yeah, but you don't have to vote for it. You know,
I
mean,
know. No, I know.
So here's what it was, guys. For years, and I blame David Stern for this, by the way. And you can tell me he's a lawyer and he's smart and all that stuff. And we know he's smart. We know he had an amazing career. I get that. But when you this was the problem that I had. There's always a boogeyman. It's like this in any realm of life, politics, sports, local, office that people work at. Always a boogeyman that they scare people with. For years, it was the Lakers because the Lakers were winning. It's easy to blame the Lakers. Oh, the Lakers got Shaq. Oh, the Lakers got Kobe. Oh, they're winning 3 in a row. Oh my God, that if we keep doing this, they're going to just keep winning. Totally forgetting the fact that Boston, New York, Philly, for a better part of 20 years, were ass. Okay, just as big a market, if not bigger. Just as historic in terms of the NBA, but because the Lakers were winning, because they did it right, because their ownership and their executives and their players came through, we had to paint this boogeyman of if we don't do something here, guys, the Lakers are going to win 10 in a row. It wasn't the fact that Shaq himself was treated like dog shit in Orlando. Okay, I believe him. I know sometimes Shaq can be. He can embellish, but he was ready to sign a deal with Orlando. They didn't want to do it. The Lakers gave him the money, and then they drafted Kobe. They drafted Derek Fisher. Rick Fox came to L.A. He had a 5-year, $20 million contract. At that time, it was a lot in 1997, to go to Cleveland from Boston. He said, no, I'm going to go play for the minimum in L.A. because I want to win championships. All this stuff doesn't get discussed. It only paints, oh my God, the big bad wolf is winning. We have to put a cap. We have to put some kind of something here so that we can stop it. Not going to fool any. It's not, again, it didn't. I was too young maybe to care as much, but you ain't fooling me this time, especially in baseball. That's it. Like, you're over. Like, you got nothing. These guys are all making money. And the players got hurt, and you're right. Just like in real life, the middle players, unless timing works, like it did with
training the
Reeves
paying players, which they
you
are
have to have the right timing. You ain't getting shit, and it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse because now it's gonna get worse for the main guys too. By the way, it's gonna get worse. It's already gotten worse. Wemby had to take a pay cut because he knew if I don't take a pay cut now, I'm never gonna win a championship. It's gonna be all mine, and then maybe they can add one more guy, and then everything else is gonna be like, well, I'm sorry, we're not going to the second apron, or otherwise we're toast.
You know, they could also, the other approach, which I've always liked, is the idea that it's not the cap that's the killer. I'd put the cap up much higher, but I would eliminate the draft entirely. You got money left over, you can give whatever you want to the next LeBron that's coming along.
I think it's kind of funny how it kind of worked out for OKC, one of these small market teams that had to be protected,
Yeah.
So they did a great job of building a team, and they go, oh shit, we can't afford this team anymore. So they had to trade a lot of quality guys away because of the salary cap.
Then the owner then though wasn't the same owner, I don't think, because they understand that it's small market or not, they're not going to let their guys go. They're going to give the extensions out and build a team that.
Yeah, that's the myth about they have all this draft capital and everything, and they do, and they can keep drafting. The problem is that those draft picks don't always pay off.
Yeah,
so when you got somebody paying off for you, but then you have to get rid of them because you can't afford all those players. That next guy you draft may not be as good. So
that's the Eastern Conference, like wild card picks. Yeah, he's not trading them to anybody in the West. They're all going east every year.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Everybody was saying we should trade for Lou Dort. Why in the hell would OKC help the Lakers?
It would have been a great trade, perfect for us to get Lou Dort.
But they would never do that.
No, they only want to play him twice a year.
They don't want the Lakers to be better.
Yep.
So.
Well, it also draft capital is at at a minimum at this point with the Lakers, even
Oh,
before.
we pissed away a lot of draft capital.
And that's part of the Pelinka issue is his inability to adapt to the current setup that these guys all agreed to. So
Well,
why is it? Yeah.
Like blowing a couple of picks. He blew 2 or 3 picks, as well as letting Caruso walk and making the Westbrook trade. You know, Luka saved his job.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it also when you don't hit in the draft, it's completely different now. When you look at Presti in Oklahoma City, a lot of these guys are undrafted guys, second round guys too. So he has been, yeah. He hit on Reeves, he hit on Alex Caruso, but then it doesn't mean anything if you let Alex Caruso go if you hit on that. To me, that's a miss again. Like that's actually worse. So he's hit on Austin Reeves, but the problem with that is Lou Dortz and the Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, not the first Jalen Williams. I think the one with a Y. Like those depth guys, they're not the second highest paid player on the OKC team. Those guys need to be the little blocks that go in with the big blocks.
Well, Jalen Williams is probably the second highest paid player when his extension goes in.
What Jalen, the first Jalen, yeah. I don't know. Is he going to get paid
Jalen
more than
What they've got is they've got tiers of players. They've got talented players that are being paid less than they're performing. They're overperforming their salaries. And
but not for long. Like
you have a young team.
Like Wallace will be due for an extension this summer.
Right.
You know, he's going to and he's going to be stepping into the Lou Dort spot.
Right.
So they're going to have another big salary on their
hands.
hands.
Actually an improvement, you know, it's an improvement. He's a better shooter and maybe a better defender.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that is actually important to talk about, maybe a little bit more detail. You guys had hinted on it a few minutes ago, but I don't think this is being talked about enough. And I know that Luka covers a lot of ground, and I know Austin has a good regular season set up in terms of his game. And then, of course, you finally have a center that's going to be a defensive type guy who can score. So that's good. But the Lakers have a huge hole in the 3 and 4 area. And especially in the 4 area, because Mamu is not a 4. He is a center. But there's word that he's going to probably start there. And it's not clicking for me.
He's going to start there.
You don't think he's going to start there? That makes sense, but why? I'm reading stuff, and it seems seems to be the commentary.
That's a long time problem that the Lakers have always had ever since they got Luka, is that the two guys that have to guard the 2 forwards on the other team are Luka and LeBron. That's really where our defense fell apart completely, because in our system with those 2 players, you're having really the 2 worst defenders on the team, basically guarding what often is the best 2 players on the other team, and it's just difficult to make that work.
Yeah,
Mike, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I just think that, like I said before, this is an incomplete roster, and you're gonna. I'm thinking that, I agree that Mamu is not, he 93% of his minutes last year was at center. Right.
That was the first year. He's
70% for his career.
Yeah, I know. The argument for Mamu starting is that the best place to hide his poor defense is with playing next to Kessler, and there's something to be said for that. I mean. He's going to outscore. He's probably going to outscore. The problem is that he, Williams, Thibault, they're not big minute guys. You're looking at the guys that play 20 minutes a game, and that's their career. Some of it because of injuries, and some of it because they're young, like Williams is. but they're not guys who play 35 minutes a game.
Well, Iger is Mamu.
Neither is Mamu's the same place. That's the problem we've got, that we don't have a really experienced starter, and we're already putting.
We're all over. Yeah, the Lakers are all over Kuminga, and he's never been a big minute starter either.
Those same kind of minutes.
Yeah, this is the problem with
we're short a starting power forward, and
the way I look at it is that it's going to be an issue all year. You know, I like I said, it's just. I think you just cannot.
Rob has to solve that at the trade deadline, or he'll get fired at the end of the year.
Well, he'll probably get fired at the end of the year anyway. But I just think that you don't build it over. You know, now the thing about it, and a couple of things that were really cool was Austin taking less in the second year. Mamu took less in the second year, setting themselves up for a full MLE next year.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that you're gonna fill that void next year. This year that's why I want the 10-11 guy rotation. I want guys to get minutes and see what the hell they can do.
Well, you know? Carr and Thiero have to come through.
Yeah,
if I were the general manager, I would be trading both of those guys right now for the power forward we need, because
I would not.
We don't have. Yeah, they're 2 years away at best.
But they're not. There's nobody to trade them for, Tom. We don't have draft capital.
I think the Pelicans' Matkovic should be perfect as a starting power forward. He's only played the same type of minutes, but he's averaged a block and a steal in 20 minutes of action, and he shot 43% from three. You could trade for him. You could trade the two guys, Carr and Adu Thiero and Vanderbilt, and let's say the swap and two of the three second round picks for Carlo Matkovic and the small forward that you're looking for in Herbert Jones.
Yeah, except for Thibault is as good as Herbert Jones when he's healthy.
Thibault is better than Herbert Jones, in my opinion, but the problem is he's horribly injury prone.
Yeah, but you don't make a trade based upon what he might get hurt. You know, if that was the thinking, we wouldn't have let.
If you could insert into the starting lineup two forwards like Herb Jones and Carlo Matkovic, that would immediately then push Grimes and Williams.
Yeah, but Matkovic is unproven as well. You know,
he is unproven guy, but he's got the best defensive stats in the steals and blocks, and the best 3-point percentage of any of them. And he's a terrific lob threat. The guy is as acrobatic and as much a bouncy player as any of the centers that the Lakers have had, including Jackson Hayes.
I wouldn't trade the young guys, because that trade wouldn't really make us that much better either. So.
Well, that's only but think about this. Look at it from this state, Michael. If you don't like the idea of Herb and Carlo, you got two players that are probably have trade value equal to or greater than a first-round pick from the Lakers, a late first-round pick. You got two players, and those players won't be able to help you really. If you want to be honest, this year, it's probably next year before they're going to really have an impact. And if we're a win-now team that is short of draft capital and desperate to get a player to finish off the lineup for this team, you have to look at what you could get for those two guys.
And I'm okay with that, but I don't think we can get anybody. I mean,
okay, fair enough.
I don't think that's the biggest problem. Who can we get?
I don't know. Those two players are worth. I'm positive those players are. Both of them have shown enough that they're worth more than an untested first-round pick late in the first round.
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, who are you going to get?
Yeah, but you got to have some ammunition first, and make a decision that you're not going to.
I say let him play.
You got to trade
Let
him
him play and see what you got. We're not going to win a championship with a trade this year. We're just not. I mean,
maybe not. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, if half of OKC and half of the Spurs get injured, maybe.
Oh, listen, every champion has a tremendously good lucky streak. You have to have career years from multiple players.
You know, that was the one thing that really the bad thing about LeBron walking for me was the injury issue. We had 3 guys that could take over because of injuries. Now we got 2 guys. So that was that kind of hurt.
You know, it's kind of funny though. There's another way of looking at that too, that we played better, frankly, when we had just 2 of the 3 of them.
All right. Yeah.
You know, I
mean, the ball moved more.
And there was I don't know, there was less of a grind of who should take over, my turn, your turn type of thing, you know. I mean, that was really, when you look back at the season, including the win over the Rockets, you know, man, there were some great moments, really great moments for a season where you didn't do anything but lose in the second round, you know. I loved a lot of guys on that team. I loved a lot of guys that left, you know. And there were times when I was fully in support of bringing back several of those guys, including Rui Hachimura. You know, it's just that I like what they've done. We have so much more volume, 3-point shooting, so much more defense, and the minimum salary guys that we got aren't guys that are wholly the deadwood of the roster. They're guys who really could elevate their games and have shown something in the past. So, you know, we just have to get out on the court.
Well, we're happy that God gave Michael a little bit of a break here. So, Mike, we haven't lost you.
So far, so good.
I'm going to bring this up because one of our chat room patrons brought it up, and I think it's a good question or a good comment. We've talked about, you know, this current situation in LA. We've talked about Pelinka. We've talked about the starters. We've talked about whether we should spend draft capital or not. Are we going to go young or old? Who should we target? You know, those type of things. They're always pretty fluid, and with this current CBA, it's more unrealistic than ever before. But let's talk about the bigger issue that the Lakers have had, especially last year, including new players that have come to LA, and that is, will Luka, Austin, and Kessler be healthy for a playoff run?
That's the big question.
That's why Michael's right about 10, 11. I even go 12 players. If you've got players who can contribute and you've got 12 players that could be in a rotation, then why not do that and keep everybody
especially early on when you have a fairly soft schedule.
I mean, the regular season is an effing grind, man. And you know, we're much better prepared, I think, for those injuries, except that if it's one of the stars, it's 2 stars that get injured, or our center, they get injured. You know, our backup center now is Mamu, you know. And you're going to see a lot of Kevin Looney if Mamu has to be the starting center. But, you know, you've got to, the Lakers have a good opportunity to go out and get off to a great start to the season, win some games. I think they can win more than 53 games that they did last year. And I think they're the 3rd best team in the West.
3rd best team. What do you think, Mike? Do you think the Lakers are the 3rd best team in the West?
You know, I can't even make a prediction until I see these guys come together. You know, I mean, you're looking at a lot of guys, and they're younger guys, so there is room for growth, and I think that was one of the things that they looked at when they signed these guys. Is they have a belief, I think, that they can be better than they've been, and I can see some of these guys being better than they've been in an expanded role. We'll see, but I don't know if they're third best. I mean, I think they're top 6. I don't know about third best.
What's going to need to happen is everyone is going to have to be better.
Yeah.
So Kessler's going to have to be better, which I'd say
5 games. It's easy to be better.
I'd say that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Mamu is somebody that could play better this year. Laravia going into a contract year, sometimes that's an advantage for a team because they're going to play really hard and focus.
He has to find his 3-point shot again.
And don't, yeah. And don't forget that might be an option too in terms of the power forward position in terms of the starters. So
if he got his shot back, he would probably zoom up to be the top. Because he's the only guy that, like we talked about, Michael was talking about, none of these guys that are our candidates have played starter minutes.
Yeah, they're not real starters, and that's probably why the low grades.
Jake has done a lot of starting, and his problem was he just can't shoot, man, or lost his ability to shoot.
Who I thought was a sneaky good signing was Sexton, because that guy is a walking bucket, and they didn't have a walking bucket on the second team last year. And he's a guy that if Luka or Austin go down with an injury, he can step in and he can score big time. I mean, he's been a 20+ a game scorer, and he has started 70% of his career. So
he and Mamu give the bench some real firepower that they've never had in the past.
Yeah. So I like that. That's one of our injury hedges that I think is that he's somebody that can step in and produce if needed.
Well, we had the lowest scoring bench in the league. It was just horrible. Sometimes we
a lot of that it's kind of a yes, we did, but we usually had 2 of our big 3 out there.
Well, it's like we our starting lineup outscored Oklahoma City in 3 of the 4 games.
Right, because they played,
because they played a deep.
There was 2 of them on the floor all the time.
And their bench crushed our bench.
Yeah, but we were playing a bunch of starters at the same time. That's why our bench scoring was down.
Yeah.
Okay, so
got to have career years from everybody on the team.
There's gonna need to be.
That's every team that wins. You look at the players, and they have 3 or 4 guys, important guys, who had career years.
Everyone's gonna have to have a better year, and on top of that, they have to be able to play the entire year, and then play 2 more months,
or be healthy. Maybe
I know that's a weird concept to have in sports. These guys are getting paid 60, 70, 50 billion dollars a year. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but these guys can barely play 65 games. So how do you predict anything anymore when you're constantly ending every prediction with if they're healthy? The answer to that is none of them are healthy. I think Miles Bridges is the only one that plays every game, and a few other guys. That's it. So, but let's stick to the main guys. Let's just stick to the 3 here before we head out, because I'm trying to play. I want to make sure that Michael doesn't get cut off here, and I think we're doing well. But if Luka is an MVP, at least a top 3 MVP, that means he's gotten up, right? If Austin is an all-star, he's gotten up. And then if Kessler is a borderline all-star and a defensive player of the year type candidate, things could get interesting. And then at that point, that might dictate the next move during the year. But I think it'll need to be something like what's happened with the last two big names in Jaylen Brown and Giannis, to where they want out. Somebody's gonna have to want out, and it has to be someone significant for there to be that player where the Lakers like, ooh, we could trade these guys or this guy and possibly go on a run. A year ago, I said this is going to be the second year of the transitionary period of the Luka Doncic era. I'm thinking this next summer is going to be the real off season where they put the thing together. But then I was basing that off of the Mark Walter ownership and how he was going to construct everything, and now that's got thrown out the window. So I have no idea. Are we in agreement, gentlemen? Is that where we stand here?
First of all, health is going to, but you know what? I mean, that's pretty much with every team. You know, everybody's saying how great Philly's going to be, but is Embiid going to hold up? Is LeBron going to hold up? You know, they've got some big question marks. So yeah, health is number one, and our big three, all's going to have to shine.
And they're all young. They're all young, which is a big difference from some of these other teams.
Yeah, and the thing about Kessler, I think he's going to be good, you know, and he was a starter. I mean, yeah, it was Utah. And his injury concerns, I think that Utah was the classic tanking team the last couple of years. And when was Kessler really available last year? You know, he only played 5 games, but I got a feeling he could have played the last 20 or so from the injury that he got. I think he could have played another 20, 25 games, but why would they play him? You know, because they wanted to lose. So I'm hoping that he holds up. I guess the kind of injury he had was it's not like a knee to where you never know, you know, it was a shoulder. So, yeah, you're right. It's going to be those 3 guys are going to dictate how we go. I think Luka and Austin each have to play 70 games for us to have a real shot.
So if that's the case, that means there's 12 games that they're not playing. How does that game go with a team that doesn't have a lot of depth?
Yeah, it depends on if it's the same time or not. You know, I mean, both Luka and Austin, both Luka and Austin have shown that they can win when it's just them. I mean, some of Austin's best games have been when it was just him. You know, he takes over. So, you know, and then like I said before, we got Sexton that can drop. You know, it's just that both of them, if 2 of the 3 are hurt at the same time, we're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So that's the case. That's what's going to have to happen here, and hopefully they're not. Hopefully, Austin.
The thing that I want to emphasize before we end the show is the Lakers basically are going to probably wait to the trade deadline or next summer. And I think you're exactly right that they're waiting for somebody who wants out, who's a great player. And even if we save the picks we have now and add a first round and a second round 34 pick next year, okay, you're still going to be in a position that if somebody who is really going to fill that starting power forward spot that we need so desperately comes up, that you're going to have to consider including your young talent or some of your young talent in order to get a deal done, because we don't have enough draft capital to get that player.
But it comes to the old argument, though. What's better, to pick up a third star and have minimum contracts all the way down the roster, or pick up a decent player?
Well, it just depends. It depends because for example, the plan for 2027 is to use the non-taxpayer MLE. Okay, that's great. That's $15 million. $50 million puts a real big limit on who you can get.
$15 million got what's his name in Atlanta last year? Walker. What's his hyphenated name? Came from Minnesota.
Well, it's not Nas Reed.
Alexander Walker.
Nikhil Walker.
He left.
Alexander Nikhil Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they got him with the MLE.
Right. Late with the MLE because he didn't get offers bigger than that.
Yeah.
I just think I think there's a point where you're going to have to, if you want to get another impact player to start, you're going to have to consider including Carr or Thiero. And I would include Thiero before I'd include Carr because Thiero's still got to prove he can shoot. Whereas we know Carr can shoot.
To answer your comment there, Michael, I don't think no, I don't consider Austin a star. I consider him a very good player. And I believe that if there is a demand by a star, a legit star, to come to LA, let's say, he would be part of the package.
Austin is going to be necessary from a dollar matching salary standpoint.
Even
you want to get a guy that's making 40 or 50 million.
Even if
40 million of his,
even if it's a free agent next year, let's say, that the Lakers want and it's a star, whoever it is, that to make that work, they're probably going to still do some form of sign and trade because that person's going to want the max. They won't be eligible for the super max, but they'll have the max. Go ahead, Tom.
Those are the kinds of trades that are in the next tier of trades that we're going to make to improve this team to a championship level. They're going to have to give up something besides draft capital because we don't have enough of it and won't have enough of it to compete with the teams that do have that. So we've got to put something else out on the trading block. And, obviously, Adu Thero is the first one that was put out. Cameron Carr is the second one. And the last one probably that really counts is Austin Reeves. You'd get another superstar for Reeves. You're probably talking about, that. When you get to a point where it's a guy that you would involve Reeves, it's somebody who wants to come to the Lakers too, because otherwise it's even with Reeves, it's hard to compete against, like, you get a player as a Giannis stature or a top 10 player, somebody like Jaylen Brown. I mean,
for me too, it'd have to be how old are they?
Yeah. Well, here's the key. Michael, you're absolutely 100% right that the only time even you do give up your draft capital or a young player is for another young player. You never do it for older guys anymore. That's the old Lakers way of doing it, wasting all of those picks for a 34-year-old to come off of the bench or to come in the lineup and transform you into a championship team.
Well, to go off of what Rough Artist said on the chat, if you look at the roster of the Knicks, and this was what really separated them towards the end. There was Karl Anthony Towns changing his game a little bit and not being so focused on offense. So much so there were games where wasn't there a game where he only scored 2 points? Man. I cannot tell you guys how important it is, especially in the NBA in basketball, and I never really considered Karl Anthony Towns like great, but he's good. He's an all-star. But man, when you still have that all-star and a guy getting paid what he pays, and he buys in and says, you know what, I'm not going to do what I was actually born to do. I'm going to do this so that we can have every ounce of a chance to win. And look what happened. But again, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, even to some extent Josh Hart. I mean, these guys are getting paid a lot of money. and it was very top heavy. And the issue with the Lakers is that team is basically Jalen Brunson doing what Luka does, but everyone on that team plays defense. The Lakers don't have a single guy, maybe one, at the center position that can play defense. But then again, this is a perimeter league. You can sort of neutralize a defensive center a little bit. If you don't believe me, look at Triple J, look at those guys. You can still win. But these guys were perimeter type guys, and they crashed the boards. And for those of you who were talking about LeBron this, LeBron that, and you got this guy and that, well, in the end, here's what they did improve on for sure, at least with Kessler, is they finally have somebody that has some size that can rebound.
He's a great offensive rebounder.
Yeah. So what did this team need for 2 years was rebounding. And I got a lot of flack for the Rui thing. I did not want Rui back. Rui doesn't rebound. Well, he shoots 43% from three. Well, what did that do for the Lakers the last 3 years? They couldn't get a damn rebound to save their lives in a lot of these games. The 5-game series against Minnesota was a rebounding issue. That should have been a 6-game series that the Lakers won, but they couldn't. They didn't because they couldn't rebound. So that's the button on that for me. Tom, you have anything else to?
Nope. I think the Lakers, even if they stick with the team they have and hang on to their draft picks, I think they're really in a good position this year. And if you had told us that this was the roster we were going to go into next year at the start, before they did anything, before they re-signed Reeves and before they signed and traded for Wet Kessler, if you gave me this option, I would have given it an A at that point in time without the slightest doubt. They got the two biggest things, which is getting Reeves re-signed and landing Kessler. And then everything after that, I thought was an A job too. So we're in a good position, and, we'll see what the season goes. It's like any other season. It'll depend on injuries, and will our guys have career years or career series playoffs like the Knicks did? That's what you need to win a championship. It's a lot of luck now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anybody can win it type of situation.
Yeah. For me, I think we have more defense than given credit for. I mean, and again, it's health. Thibault, if he's been a second team all NBA defender twice. He is a disruptor. You watch some tape on this guy. He's an incredible defender. He just hasn't been able to stay on the court. If he can, that's going to be a big plus. Williams is a good defender, and he's still 23 years old. Not too many guys in the NBA are good defenders at 23. He had, that's, guys come in and they can score, but the guys, what happens is that it takes more time in the NBA to learn to be a good defender. So and Grimes was a very good defender when he was in Dallas. His role changed when he left. If he can get that back, I think we'll be okay. I'm more concerned with Thibault and Williams shooting than I am their defense. That's the question mark for me. And I'll just give everybody a little bit of another reason to hate Rob. There was one point Toronto wanted to trade OG to us for Horton Tucker, and Rob wouldn't include a first-round draft pick.
Well, we could have had Kevin Lowry. We could have had a lot of situations.
No, we could have had OG and we could have had Caruso.
Yeah,
but Rob did not. They want, for whatever reason, Toronto liked Horton Tucker.
When you look at the other general managers who are in the league who are thought of to be excellent general managers, the guy from the Thunder, obviously. Danny Ainge, the guy that took over for him for the Celtics. None of them make these kind of dumb, boneheaded effing mistakes that cost your team, leave a couple of championships on the floor, and Rob's got like a half a dozen of serious screw-ups, man.
I blame Jeannie more than I blame Rob on the Caruso thing. because
Well,
we
you
could have
notice-
kept Horton Tucker and paid Caruso. But the thing was, they came down, oh, we couldn't keep both of them. Yes, you could. You just didn't want to go over the cap and pay taxes.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. You just picked the wrong guy.
That was a bad wound you just opened up, Michael. I'm going to go cry now. But again, I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. This is the first time I've hosted the Lakerholics. It was a pleasure hosting for you, gentlemen. Hopefully next week, Gerald or Jamie will be back. If not, I'll see if I'm available. Today was a beautiful day. I had nothing to do for the first time in years on a Saturday, so it was perfect timing. But definitely
I don't have
enjoyed
anything I can do.
And again, everything here is very trivial compared to what's going on with Michael over there in Hawaii. Please, Michael, don't get whisked away. All of a sudden, we don't hear from you again. Be safe. I'm glad we got through the show for about an hour and change without you getting cut off. I always enjoy the good communication with everybody. Tom, again, try not to break the machine there. It looks very comfortable, by the way, with that net backing. But again, we'll be back hopefully next week to discuss more Laker talk. Hopefully there's some movement with the roster instead of the freaking drama that's around it. But until then, everyone have a good Saturday or a Sunday if you're in other places or if you're behind in other places. Have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And until next time, we'll see you next time.
Aloha.
Aloha.